Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video, we're talking about the auto loan default situation that is currently ongoing. Before we get into this video though, as always, if you're going to save time and money the next time you purchase a car, link to my car buying guide in the description down below. And some of the information provided in today's video comes from Cox Automotive. Let's get into it. So let's start things off by going over some of the statistics, and then let's talk about what this practically means for the car market. So the first stat comes from September, and it states that about 6.11% of buyers are behind on their car payments by about 60 days. So these people aren't on the point of having their car repossessed quite yet, but they're definitely well on their way. And if you're wondering, how that compares to historically, the last high that we experienced was back in January at the beginning of this year when, car values started to dip quite a bit, and the percentage of people that were 60 days behind was 5.93%. So it's gone up a bit, not a massive amount, but it has gone up. Now, the next thing to note is that defaults are up by almost 32% compared to a year ago. That is a huge increase. And then the last stat that I think is the most worrying is just the overall number of cars that will be repossessed by the end of this year. It's estimated to be about 1.5 million vehicles. Now that is up from 1.2 million last year. So that's another 300,000 vehicles that are going to be repossessed this year. And this is going to have some, big effects for the overall car market. But before we get into what this is going to do to the car market, let's quickly talk about why this situation is happening. And I actually also want to talk about the housing market as well, because I'm starting to notice a trend between the two markets. Now, I do need to mention that I am by no means a housing market expert. I don't know a lot about the market, but I do look at houses all the time just for fun. It's one of those things that's fun to do. And I've just noticed something that seems to mirror what's happening currently in the car market. So first off, we all know about the higher interest rates. So what this means is anyone that has taken out a car loan over the course of the last year roughly has a much higher interest rate compared to people that took out a car loan, 2-3 years ago when interest rates were basically zero on cars. And so this means that people are paying more interest on a car than before, and cars happen to be depreciating assets. And so what this means is that people are getting more and more upside down on their cars. Now, the used car market has also not been so kind to people when it comes to car values. We had a huge decline in used car prices at the beginning of this year, and then things kind of stabilized. They went up a little bit. They're kind of starting to go down again, but they stabilized overall. But regardless, if someone purchased a car at the beginning of this year with a slightly higher interest rate and at a slightly higher value, then they're going to be upside down because of the interest that's accrued on the car and also because of the value loss. And you can imagine, people that took out car loans 2 years ago, they got really low interest rates, but bought when the values were at the peak. Those people, right, they may not be paying as much in interest, but they've lost so much value that they're still upside down. So we have a car market where a lot of people are upside down. And I can tell you anecdotally, what dealers are telling me is that pretty much every single customer coming in outside of very wealthy buyers are all upside down, and the amounts they're seeing are increasing as time goes on. When the cracks started to show, the dealers are starting to see, people being maybe $2,000 to $3,000 upside down. Now dealers are telling me they're seeing people that are $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 in some cases upside down, even more if they purchased a very expensive car. I had a story where someone told me that a person bought a Tesla Model S Plaid for like $180,000 at the peak of the market, and now that's like a $70,000, $80,000 car as a trade-in. So they're literally $100,000 upside down in their loan. So like that stuff is happening. It's insane. So it is increasing as time goes on. So with these people being upside down, if they can't make their payment, then that's where this leads to repossessions. And so this is where I want to kind of dive into the housing market situation, because what I'm noticing with the housing market is it seems like the only houses that are getting built are really expensive houses. As I've been kind of looking on the market, I've been seeing that there's all these like $1 million, maybe multi-million-dollar houses that are getting built, and they're not selling. Like they're just sitting on the market. And then you look, in terms of new affordable houses getting built, and there's some stuff, but not a lot. And that's where the car market kind of relates, because you look at what automakers are doing and they're focusing on building really expensive vehicles, and they're not selling, and they're not building enough of the affordable vehicles, the vehicles that people are currently wanting. And so it's creating this weird, supply demand dynamic within the market, where the really affordable stuff, if it's nice, if it's newer, it's selling quite quick. And again, if you look at houses, if you look at a house that's, remodeled, that's more affordable, then they sell really quick versus, again, these more expensive homes. And so that's where things kind of mirror. But I guess fully diving back into the car market, with the fact that interest rates are not going to be going down anytime soon, and you have this massive amount of negative equity, and you have all of the economic signs that we are going to stay in what, some people are still not calling a recession, but I will call a recession at this point. We're going to see this repossession rate increase. And the thing is, this is kind of like a positive feedback loop, because now we're going to have 300,000 more cars this year on the market that are repo cars. And you have to remember, repo cars are typically in worse condition compared to regular cars. And so we're going to have more of those compared to last year. So the used car market's going to have a higher supply of crappier cars, which is going to bring car values down, which is naturally going to create even more negative equity. And so it's going to kind of feed into itself. And so don't be surprised if the repossession rate continues to increase, because you have more people upside down that just can't get into anything. Because again, if you want to trade in your car that you have negative equity in, and all that's available are these super expensive, $50, $70, $100,000 cars, it's like you just got to give it back to the bank at that point. Like, people are left with no option at this point. And so that's where we're seeing more repossessions. And I guess if we dive back in the housing market, it looks like foreclosures are starting to kind of become a thing again. So yeah, it's not a perfect mirror, but it does kind of mirror itself. So let me know what you guys think about this whole situation with the car repossessions. But I definitely think that this is something to follow. And I do think that this is very concerning for the overall health of the car market, because again, 1.5 million vehicles, that's a lot. The overall used car market usually sees about 35 to 40 million transactions. And so yeah, there's a lot of transactions that are, that's not the entire used car market, but still, that's just a lot of cars for people to get repossessed. Anyways, I'll see you.